Welcome to another episode of the 15-Minute a Day Cure. Today's topic, negative thoughts are not your friend. So I'm going to talk about 7 things that you can do to sort of improve your mindset and get out of the negative headspace. Hi, I'm Margo Staten of Be Good to Yourself by Margo.com, and welcome to my channel. Here, I teach you simple strategies to improve your quality of life. If you're new here, wonderful to have you. I release brand new videos every Wednesday at 5 p.m. So let's jump into sort of the 7 things that we can do to get rid of negative thoughts and negative thinking. Number 1, stay away from negative people. If you are somebody who's negative, right? And when we talk about somebody who's negative, it's you're constantly ambushed by negative thoughts, negative thinking. You're somebody who thinks about everything is always, I guess, how they say it is a glass half empty as opposed to a glass half full. And you're constantly looking at things like worst case scenario. When you look into the future, it's very, very glum. When you reflect on your day, everything is bad. And again, that's not to say that bad things don't happen. Of course they do. But I think that, negative thoughts and having a negative mindset is more when you are somebody that focuses almost completely on the horrible things that are happening in life, as opposed to trying to figure out things that actually happen to you that are good. And yes, as hard as it may seem, good things do happen. It's just we've kind of been conditioned over many, many years to only focus on things that, make us feel hurt or give us anxiety or give us stress. So the first thing that you should do is to sort of get rid of the negative thinking and get rid of the negative thoughts is surround yourself by positive people. Because if you surround yourself by negative people, then they're just going to fuel your negative mindset, and typically, we attract the types of people that sort of fit within our own, thinking frame and our own mindset. So if you're really somebody that wants to get out of having negative thoughts and wants to get out of the negative headspace, my recommendation is, look, realistically speaking, we cannot get rid of everybody in our lives, right? And sometimes the negative people happen to be the people closest to us, right? Such as our families, our partners, our friends. So I'm not saying just cut everybody who's negative out of your life, but maybe kind of talk to them in moderation. But I am sure that there are people in your life who you do not need around, who are extremely negative, who really suck the joy and the life out of you. Those are the people that kind of have to go. Number 2, live in the now. A lot of times folks who have negative thoughts, folks who are plagued with negative thinking kind of in repetition, most of you guys tend to live in the past. And there are a lot of horrible things that happened in the past, right? It could be friendships that went bad and, maybe you got screwed over by somebody that you cared about. It's relationships that didn't work out. It's things that your kids might have done. It's getting fired from a job. It's, maybe having to give up your house. Look, the past is filled with a bunch of negative stuff. But unless you can travel back in time, you can't change it. So, the past is something that we often should look at as maybe something to learn from, if there's something to take away from that. But it's more so living in the now and kind of looking to the future with a positive mindset. But, living in the past or reliving, right? I mean, how many of us kind of you might have a fight with somebody and then you kind of relive it over and over and over and over again in your head. But it already happened. Again, you cannot go back in time and change it. So why are you wasting precious moments reliving what happened in the past, right? And again, I think it sounds simple, in theory, but those negative things that happen to us, they have a lot of power over us. Or rather, let me rephrase, we give them a lot of power because, and I say this all the time, who creates your thoughts? Who or what dictates what you think about, what you pay attention to? It's you. So if you allow the thoughts to come in, if you think that investing and spending so much time into thinking about negative things and horrible things that happened in the past is somehow making your life better now, it's not. But the good news is that you're in control of that thinking process. So you're in control of stopping it. You're in control of focusing on wonderful things that happen to you today and wonderful things that'll happen to you in the future. So again, living in the now instead of reliving the past over and over again will kind of improve your mindset. Number 3, replace negative thoughts with positive ones. Again, fighting negative thoughts and fighting negative thinking is very, very challenging. But like I mentioned before, you are in control of what you think about. I know that sounds crazy, but I really want you guys to sort of process that for a second. You're in control. Nobody's in control of you, right? There are things that happen that we cannot control, right, in the environment. But what happens in here, that's all you. You have the power. You're in control of this. You can change it. It takes work. It takes time because we've built bad habits around negative thinking and negative thoughts and repeating things that have happened to us. And, you know, sometimes we feel like victims and it makes us feel vulnerable, but it's kind of just eating away at our character, at our personality, and at our lives. Because again, whatever happened, happened. Whenever a negative thought comes into your head, and it could be because of something happened earlier today, get rid of it, right? Redirect your thoughts, read affirmations, and try to just literally, if you have to literally say to the thought like, yo, you need to take a hike, right? Replace it with positive ones. A good tip that I tell my clients is surround yourself with positive messages. You have to be honest with yourself. Are you a negative thinker, right? Are you somebody who is negative? Are you somebody who is plagued with negative thoughts? And if the answer is yes, right, then do things in your environment that help take the negative thoughts, get rid of them, and replace them with positive thoughts. If you're somebody who's very good at kind of what's called thought redirection and bringing in positive thoughts on your own, like as soon as a negative thought enters, you're like, replace it with something like, I'm successful, I am loved, I'm having a fantastic day, right? It doesn't need to be anything like astronomically creative. If you're somebody who can do that, cool. The more you do that, the less the negative thoughts will infiltrate, right? Because they'll realize that they no longer serve a purpose, right? The mind is like a fascinating place. But if you need a little bit of help, then read affirmations, you know, print a bunch of wonderful sayings. There's a ton of apps that you can download for like positive affirmations about success or love or, you know, self-esteem. Do something, right? To kind of balance out and sort of rid yourself of the negative thoughts. Okay. Number 4, practice gratitude. Again, you know, getting rid of negative thoughts is not easy. It's a process because you've allowed negative thoughts to take over your life probably for many, many, many years. And as we all know, habits are very hard to break and new habits are very hard to create. Something that really works is practicing gratitude. Why? Because negative thinking and negative thoughts, we are always focused on things that are crappy, that are bad, that give us stress, that create anxiety, right? Practicing gratitude teaches you to kind of transform your mindset, right? It's the same thing about thinking about positive things that happened in your life. What are you grateful for? You're grateful for your family. You're grateful for your children. You're grateful maybe for the item that you found on sale on Amazon. You're grateful because they had your favorite yogurt at the supermarket. You know, I'm not poking fun, but I want you guys to understand that practicing gratitude, you know, it doesn't have to be something astronomical. It doesn't have to be something grandiose, right? It could just be something very, very simple, right? Something simple, something small, something like you made it out of the house on time, right? Or you didn't hit any traffic on your way home from work. Those are all wonderful things that you can be grateful for. And if you practice gratitude, right, you can practice it at the end of the day. You can practice it throughout the day. It's really practicing gratitude is about stopping yourself in the moments or reflecting and finding all of the wonderful things that make you happy in your life. And again, you know, if you're thinking, well, there's nothing good happening in my life, look again. Literally go through every minute of your day. There has to be something, you know. It could be anything, and it could be something very, very small that you probably normally would not even focus on, but there is something to be grateful for every single day. Number 5, journal, right? A lot of folks allow their negative thoughts to live here, and the problem with that is they have nowhere to go, right? This is why oftentimes, you know, seeing a therapist or social worker or any kind of counseling is so effective. It's because it's cathartic to tell somebody about what you're thinking about, right? It alleviates the stress and the pressure that's sitting on your chest to kind of get it out there, right? And you almost feel, you feel great, right? I mean, again, a lot of times feeling great is very short-lived because the negative thoughts just kind of come back. But that's why I think sort of practicing gratitude on a daily basis is a very effective and very quick thing that you can do to get rid, or rather begin the journey of getting rid of all of the negative thoughts. Because again, negative thoughts are not your friend, right? They don't make your life any better. They make your life worse. But you are allowing your own thoughts, right? You're doing this to yourself. And if you're doing this to yourself, you can change that, right? And we can kind of flip it around. And again, journaling is really something that is very, very effective in getting the negative thoughts out of you. And then hopefully what you do after, you know, when you journal and you talk about it, you can always, like, you know, maybe wrap that up with listing something that you're grateful for, right? So you get all the negative stuff out, but then you end on a positive note. Number 6, question your thoughts. Why do I say question your thoughts? A lot of the things that you think are not as big as you make them out to be. Folks who are negative thinkers, folks who are, and again, you know, negative thoughts tend to creep in, especially when we're stressed and when our anxiety is through the roof and depression. And, you know, I'm not trying to make this sound as like a simple fix, right? Because again, chronic illness, mental health, you know, there are a lot of things that happen in our life that kind of create this bubble of negative thinking and a negative mindset. So again, it's not easy to get rid of, but it won't go away without you actually doing something or intervening in some way, shape, or form. And the reason sort of I love the topic of negative thinking is because, again, that is something that we ourselves are in control of. It is not being controlled from the outside. So questioning your thoughts, you know, when you're having a real, you know, or you've had a couple of really, really bad days, the smallest things you kind of blow up, right? So, you know, my girlfriend actually just yesterday was telling me a story how her neighbor, who is typically like the sweetest woman and always smiling and all of that, how she started cursing at somebody for taking her parking spot, right? I mean, like yelling. It was excessive. And look, I get it. We live in New York and, you know, parking spots are hard to come by. So I understand the frustration of like sort of being cut off and, you know, not being able to get a parking spot that maybe you were first to get. But the way she reacted was just so much profanity, and it was like excessive, you know, and so much screaming. It's not about the parking spot. There are other things obviously that are going on, or maybe, you know, she's sort of, you know, had a lot of things sitting right here that she hasn't been journaling and she has been overwhelmed, or maybe she recently went through a crisis that the parking spot is like a cherry on top, you know, and she kind of completely flipped out. So again, you want to question your thoughts for just how dramatic and how excessive this negative thing is, right? Again, being stuck in traffic sucks, you know, is it the end of the world? No. You know, I had friends that like flipped out because they couldn't find a matching sock. You know, is it about the sock? No, it's about all of these other things that probably have compiled over time, right? And compounded rather over time, that have just been brewing and brewing and brewing. That the smallest, tiniest thing that normally, if you're a positive person, you would never even pay attention to, you kind of just blow up. So again, if you see yourself getting overwhelmed and there's a lot of negative thinking going here, question yourself, right? Like, is this really that bad, or am I kind of exaggerating? And I'll be honest with you, 9 out of 10 times, it's really not that bad, right? So again, challenge yourself, challenge your thoughts, because all of these things in combination are going to transition you from being a negative thinker to being a positive thinker. And I'm not asking you to be Pollyanna, right? I'm not saying everything is so wonderful and things are just great and I am grateful for the flowers and the plant. I'm not saying you have to go to that extreme. Be you, right? Be the unique person who you are, right? What I'm saying is it's the negative thinking that is constantly present that needs to go, because it's preventing you from not only living in the now, but from seeing a positive future, right? And whatever you put out in the universe tends to be what you attract. So if you keep saying my life is garbage, your life is going to be garbage, right? So again, not an easy fix, but with these types of interventions, you can transition from being negative to being positive. And then lastly, number 7 is seek treatment. You know, I mentioned this before, a lot of this negative thinking, the negative mindset, it doesn't happen overnight. It's built over years. It can start from childhood into adolescence into adulthood, right? So now we've maybe spent 20, 30 years of just kind of going through a lot of horrible things that we've now manifested into this very, very negative person. So I understand that for some people, it's going to be very challenging to kind of just put a switch up and say, oh my goodness, everything is fantastic. Sometimes you need professional intervention. There's nothing wrong with seeking treatment. There's nothing wrong with talking to a counselor. You know, a counselor can strategically come up with solutions for you, or rather maybe all you need is talk therapy and to kind of work through it, right? An effective therapist allows you the opportunity to reach your own conclusion, right? To come up with your own treatment with some guidance. But again, if you find that you are actively working to improve your mindset and to no longer have negative thoughts, right? And to sort of transition into positive thinking, but you're struggling, you're stuck, right? Look into seeking treatment. You know, a lot of times insurances will cover it. You know, sometimes, you know, you will have to pay out of pocket. But there is nothing wrong with saying, you know what, I've tried, I'm having a hard time, I need help, and then seeking the help out. Okay. All right, so those are the 7 ways to kind of rid yourself of negative thoughts and hopefully transition into a positive mindset. I hope you enjoyed my video, and always remember to be good to yourself.